Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time to join our session. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm Ben. I'm the founding director of a charity called Missional Generation, and you'll be able to hear a little bit about what it is we're doing with augmented reality and virtual reality later on in our session. But I want to start to talk about how technology, as VR and AR, is being used in the secular world, in the big global world, because if the church chooses to disconnect itself from the global movements of technology, then we're missing out on the opportunity of connecting with the digital generation. And the pandemic has taught us so much about technology and the opportunities and also the challenges and the difficulties. But I recognize the opportunity that is in technology. And you're going to hear a little bit of my story as well about how I use technology. I'm going to share my screen with you guys to help you go through some slides with us, because what I want to try and do is give us an opportunity to explore together how this opportunity of information that we're looking at can lend itself really well to what we're trying to achieve today. So here we go. Just make myself get the alignment correct. Here we go. So hopefully you'll be able to see on the screen the topic of our thoughts today, the AR and VR evolution. And we're looking at what can the church learn from this kind of use of technology that the world is using. And as I said, I'm the CEO of Missional Generation, and I want to join with you guys as we journey together, because we've been on this journey for a number of years. And that's how we connected with Matt and the great stuff of what Stronger is doing. And I really encourage you to keep plugging into other sessions, because the vast of information from all of these different topics that you guys are going to be listening to will help to kind of shape the understanding of what it means to look at this digital movement a little bit more, and how do we harness the opportunities. Now, I've said VR and AR, and for some of you guys, you're probably thinking, what is that all about? What is virtual reality and augmented reality? And I want to just give you some examples as we go through how the global world, the secular world, is using virtual reality and augmented reality to communicate their brand and their mission of information. So virtual reality is where you put on a Google Cardboard headset, or a Oculus Quest, or a HTC Vive, or others, that is like a unit that goes on our heads. And that unit enables us to move our heads left and right and explore things using controllers in our hands. Or in the recent movement of technology with metaverse and the wonderful stuff that they're doing with Oculus, is that they're using their fingers to recognize how the camera can pick up finger movements, which makes it feel more engaging, more immersive. So imagine putting something onto your head and moving left and right and exploring it. And we're going to be seeing some of those examples later. Augmented reality is where you use a smartphone device, where you are able to bring things into your reality and interact and play and navigate and learn information. Again, we're going to show you some examples of that later. So what we've got here is two interactive, immersive devices of virtual reality and augmented reality that allows you to navigate through and information come alive around you. You'll be able to play and walk into spaces and places that you've never been in before. But I recognize that when we start to look at technology, there is this kind of tug of war goes on inside us, or goes inside the kind of infrastructure we're part of, whether that's business, whether that's industry, whether that's hospitality, whether that's education, or whether that's the church. And this kind of tug of war that goes on going, how much should we step into it? How much should we interact with this? How much should we use this? Or is it like, whoa, this is so not the right thing for us, and we put our shutters down and we say no to that sense of opportunity? Now, if we're not careful, we can start to grow hardened hearts towards movements of technology, because there are some challenges and difficulties. We know that the idea of technology impacts us on our mental health and our well-being. Technology puts us in a place where we may not need vast amounts of people around us, because we are all connected online and engaged in various different ways. But yet also technology is a massive opportunity to grow people's sense of confidence in how they learn and interact with people. Just to give you a little bit of my story, is that I am a wonderful dyslexic individual and I love technology. I find using technology helps me to navigate through information that I may not know of, or I may not be able to read information so quickly. So I need to engage with such information in a fresh new way. And for my two kids, they are dyslexic as well. The whole family is. And the idea of me supporting my children through experiential learning and immersively stepping into something enables them to have the opportunity to know what it means to explore something and come to their own conclusion. Now, I'm not suggesting they go off on their own. Of course not. I'm standing with them. I'm walking with them. And so the idea of technology and companionship in the natural, where you're physically with somebody, is massively key. I'm not suggesting that today we should stop meeting in the physical places and just go on to the digital places. I don't believe that's the way that we should go. That's not the way we were made or designed, to log in and disconnect through a different means. I think we are called to be in companionship together and learn together and journey together. The idea of pilgrimage is really key. The journey from A to B to C is massively important. But we might go in the physical to A and then into the digital to B and then reconnect in that digital and non-digital space in section of C pilgrimage. The journey through life is massively important, and technology is helping to communicate and open up spaces and places for us to widen our experience of knowledge and interaction. So what we do now is I'm going to show you some more examples of what the secular world is doing in around different spaces of where VR and AR is happening, just to help you see a little bit more about how it is being used. Because the question I'm asking here is, how can the church, how can Christian entrepreneurs, people in the industry of work and training and so on, as we go through, how can we lean into such opportunity and leverage that as a way of really helping people and explaining various things? So what we've got here on the screen here is, on the top left-hand corner, you can see a gentleman in a chair with somebody teaching and training him how to move and navigate a piece of industry, a piece of, I believe it's a truck or some form of crane that moves around what looks like an airport. Now, to be able to physically put somebody in that space is quite a dangerous place unless they're properly trained. But the beauty about virtual reality, as you can see, the person's got a VR headset on his head, enables him to learn and explore the various key things, so that when that person, and that's the question, when that person gets into the physical place where they're physically driving somewhere, they are trained and equipped by the companion of somebody walking alongside them. There's been some recent statistic and study on this second picture going along to the right, where training people up and putting new people into the business world or into the work and training world can take a lot of time, personnel, one-to-one, and actually some industries are going to find that really hard to do that all the time. So what they've looking at is, how do we use mixed reality, which is the beauty of VR and AR together, to enable them to self-teach themselves or self-learn through the various experiences of introduction weeks and months running into a new part of a job. They can learn by physically seeing it around them and interacting with it as a form of getting somebody quickly skilled up. And we can see that again on the far right-hand corner, where in that place of industry and business and in the work and training, you can see that they are clicking and touching things that are coming around them. Because what we've got more than ever is an experiential generation coming through our businesses or our schools and our universities. And we're going to see how schools and universities are using such innovation as well. So why can't we see that thread carrying on, as well as being a starting point for some to step into it in new businesses? The virtual workspace. Now, we've heard many times being said over the last 2 years in the pandemic and lockdown, and some organizations and some businesses and some social enterprises and all various things that are out there right now have asked the question, how much should we hold on from the pandemic, and how much should we let go from our knowledge of information using technology? And what we can see here is somebody is using in the metaverse this space to continue doing their business work. And that's a really interesting thought around how we do team, because we're more ever remote now than we ever have been. And so the idea of connectivity and being together is key. And some statistics, some piece of research has said that if you are in a headset and you're in that teamwork and you're working on a project in this kind of virtual space, then there's less distractions going on around them, which is more productivity that gets done, and more conversation, and moving projects further and faster helps. Now, obviously, we recognise being in that place all the time is not a place that helps us with our health and mental well-being. And so there's a balance, I see, that is necessary. This picture at the bottom here with the gentleman's back to us looking at what looks like a car engine, which it is looking at it from a point of view of a virtual reality experience, learning how to maintain and design and repair various parts of the engine in a car. And that's a really helpful place for somebody to learn as well before they get into the idea of making time to put into building a car or maintaining a car. And then the gentleman on the far right is learning how to do something through healthcare and operating on a knee in a virtual way. And this is how work and training are using virtual reality and augmented reality to help that kind of interactive learning and speeding up productivity. I said to you about schools and universities. Now, I'm quite excited about this because I really think that my two kids would learn so much more in school if they were able to step in and walk around and scan and navigate information. As you can see at the top here, I don't have to be a kid because I would love to go to Mars. Who would love to go to Mars? To be able to physically have a portal window into Mars and step in and watch them launch a rocket off into Mars and then walk around the various spaces of what they think Mars could look like in AR. And that's a fantastic, exciting learning, because this starts to kind of talk about the adventure that comes through experiential learning, but also stretching the minds of opportunity about where we can venture into the unknown spaces in our galaxy. And so it inspires a generation to think beyond their limitations of being physically at school, looking at a picture in a book. And it leads them into, as we see on the top right and the bottom right, they're stepping in, they're exploring, they're navigating, they're touching, they're engaging, which stimulates this deep sense of learning for a young person. Then they can retain that information in their minds and draw upon that in conversations, even in pieces of art, pieces of work that they're writing in their curriculum. And as you see on the bottom left-hand corner, the opportunity that in museums where you can go on field trips with schools, they can scan various artwork, and it gives you information, maybe even a sense of voice information that comes up, or maybe even an animation or something that helps them feel like it's not just they're looking at a picture, but they're actually engaging further. And so the idea of universities using AR and VR is really important. So if you are somebody who has got children, or you know of children, grandchildren, ask the question, do you use AR and VR in your schools? And see what they say. And I hope that the answer will be yes, because experiential learning is huge. It's key for young people to know and navigate through information. So let's look at shopping and retail outlets, because this is also another interesting way that the world is moving to enable our shopping experiences to be so much more pleasant and so much more enjoyable. And what we have here on the top left-hand corner is IKEA, which is IKEA's form of place, where it's enabling people to explore how they would like to buy something before it becomes in their house. And the opportunities that says, I don't want to waste my time by going to a shop, buying something that's not right. I mean, we've all been there. I've been there. IKEA has had many times where I've come back and gone, this item doesn't really fit in my house. And then when I've learned about this app, I can actually position it and see how it fits. And this is a great way for people to use technology to experience their shopping very differently. And if you want to look at it from an environmental perspective, I don't waste my time driving my car, killing the world through my exhaust being on, and wasting time buying something that's not right. We can see on the left-hand side here, you've got this opportunity where people can identify things in their house and place them in, as we said, and they can purchase them online. Now, this is really important and interesting down here on the bottom left-hand corner. Isn't it interesting how right now we're entering into a financial, economic concern times? Costs of living, food is increasing in price. And what we've got here is an augmented reality app that allows them to scan a certain part of a shopping aisle that then tells them of certain offers and buy one, get one free, discount prices. And that's really interesting because we've always got our phone out all the time when we're walking around. Our shopping list is on it. So double tap or slide the screen to the left or right and allows you to pull up an app that says, hey, if you buy this, you can save it on 20%, 10%. We're already seeing that right now, but not in an AR perspective, through the Tesco's app, where if you're a Club Card member, you can get a discounted price on certain items. The idea of convenience and saving money is enabling this app to become part of a shopping experience. And I think that's really quite interesting when somebody's looking at the crisis moments that we're in and seeing how AR and the idea of addressing that could become part of something that's a bit more fun and engaging in their shopping experience. It's really quite interesting how the innovation around that is thinking. Now, this bottom right-hand corner is a virtual shop that is in the metaverse, where people can go and buy things, not just for themselves, but also their avatar characters. Now, I'm not yet found where I stand on the whole avatar understanding, but I'm really interested by the idea of how retailers and shopping experience is being made, because the phrase in the days was, my online community is just as important as my offline community. My online identity is just as important as my offline identity. And that is where we're at the moment, this identity. Who am I? What am I? How do I want to portray myself? And so the metaverse is creating this kind of meta wallet, which allows people to be able to purchase things in the virtual reality world as clothes that they can make themselves look nice. I would love to make myself look like a six-pack and have great kind of clothes. But the reality is that sounds exhausting for me to do that. But there are people in this world who are considering that they want to create an image in the virtual world about what they look at and how they look as well. And what we see here is a shopping centre are utilising such technology. Now, tourism's huge. It's one of the major ways of cities earning revenue for people travelling from places to places. And we saw in the pandemic that it really the pandemic stopped tourism to happen. It was like a brake on the car brakes. And what we find is there's new innovative ways that people are trying to get people back out traveling again. And what we got up here on the top left-hand corner is this idea of an augmented reality dinosaur experiences in the various museums. And people are using those to explore more. But I've seen augmented reality dinosaurs all over Leeds, because they've got this kind of go and find the dinosaur in your city centre, which gets people back into the city centre, mingling around the shops. They pick up a Greggs, they pick up a Starbucks as they go along, because they're engaging in a free entertainment that brings tourism back into the city. And this idea of augmented reality is helping that, which I think is quite exciting for my kids as well as me. Top right hand corner, you can virtually in 360 in VR go and explore various places in tourism to see whether you like it, whether you want to book a place, maybe even go and see one of the hotels and explore what the hotel looks like in VR. Now, I love a comfortable, delightful looking hotel. I love a space where there's a delightful cafe. I want to find those places because I don't want to waste my time walking around there for hours on end to find that right little place for me to chill out. I would quite like to go in the VR and go and explore it, and now I know where it is. And that then makes it a less stressful process for me. So VR is drawing people through tourism to go into places. And you can see that on the bottom left-hand corner where you can use an augmented reality using your camera on your phone and it scans the location of where you are, and it pulls up various things that might be helpful to you. And I recognize that this app is obviously useful, but with the artificial intelligence that's coming through with the way that we use our devices and the way the information is gathered, whether you're for that or against that, it will end up telling you some of the suggestions that you might want, because maybe you're somebody who likes to drink coffee all the time, or likes to go to restaurants, or likes to go look at things to do with history. And what it does, it learns how you engage with the app and pulls up suggestions, because the app thinks it wants to help you have the greatest time in the world using augmented reality. And that's not wrong. Enjoyment is great, but just be aware about how those AR experiences could probably make you spend more than we want to. Just a thought. Now, this one here in the middle is the idea of learning to navigate yourself through using Google's Maps, and this is allowing them to see in the AR world where things are, key information, but also navigate through the maps. And as I said, on the bottom right-hand corner, we've got various things to do with tourism and museums. And I think this is actually where you can bring a museum into your house, where you can actually see a coffin like that in front of you and engage with it, and theoretically not even leave your house, but engage in a museum experience. Now, like I said at the beginning, I'm not suggesting that fully going on to the AR or VR world is the way to live, because I actually think connectivity is hugely important with people. But if you're somebody that might want to have a few 20, 30 minutes entertainment with your kids, or you want to try this in schools, or you want to try it as a bit of a fun thing in your team about just team dynamics and team engagement, then maybe bring a museum into your context. Now, this is really interesting from a healthcare perspective. Now, I'm currently, my wife and I are currently supporting somebody who has early stages of dementia. And it's really quite a strange and challenging and very uncomfortable journey, if I'm really honest about it. And this idea of helping people to remember and recall information, we can see on the images on the top left-hand corner and bottom left-hand corner, where you've got this kind of space in the VR world where people can remember and see people they love and people they remember and places they like to go to, because maybe they're not able to get to those places, or maybe it causes too much distress for them to get themselves in a new place in a car when it's journey into a place. Of what you can do if it's right. And we haven't done this with our friend, and I'm going to work out whether it's the right thing, but I quite like the innovation behind it. I like the idea behind it, to say, actually, why don't we show your family in VR? Why don't we give you the chance to meet them again in VR, remember who they are, and then when they come in the room moments later, the information is there in their mind, and the kind of connectivity of that friend or that loved one seeing somebody they know actually feels like it's more meaningful and more personal for them, which I think is really interesting from a healthcare perspective. Top right-hand corner, you've got somebody who looks like they're trying to do a movement in VR, which I would say would be preparing and helping them get their arms healed again after what would be either an accident or an operation. But the idea of using a virtual reality space, meaning they can try and pick something up with the sensation of their fingers moving in the VR, allows them to get their physical bodies moving once again. And it's been proven that physically doing something after an operation when the time is right enables them to quickly get better and feeling more ready to come out of hospital, which I think is really helpful to think through as well. So I think it looks like I've got 2 minutes left, which if that is right, do tell me if that is right, because I'm just wanting to double check that you're speaking that directly to me. Yeah, fantastic. So I want to just quickly explain how we have been using it in our context. And there's a few more slides that we haven't been able to show you today, but I'd love for you to contact us if you did want to know more. We are using digital discipleship to mission because what we as a charity believe is that there is so much opportunity in using virtual reality and augmented reality at seasonal times of the year. And as you can see from this picture alone, we have got a Christmas experience, an Easter experience, and we worked with Thy Kingdom Come, and we've worked with New Wine, which is a children's and youth ministry that supports across the churches to design and develop their own immersive experiences looking at the Bible and looking at various key stories in the Bible. But also we've been using it through filters and using it through playful evangelism and helping people utilize filters that can stretch that experience of them sharing their message into the world using Instagram or Facebook. And at the Platinum Jubilee, we saw 72.9k people engaged in our filter through the Jubilee, helping churches celebrate their Jubilee experience. And these are just interesting ways of utilizing VR and AR to help explore faith. And I want to just encourage you that if you're looking at various people that you want to know who are out there that's talking about it in the secular world, here are some people I would suggest would be really helpful for you to watch. And these are 6 ways I think VR and AR will grow more in 2022 and beyond. I think there's going to be more VR and AR in marketing. There's going to be more VR and AR in retail, and in communication as well, and training and education, entertainment, as well as spirituality. And we are very confident that if the church or those that you are working with, whether that's a business sector, whether that's a various educational sector, moving with the technological times is key for organizations, churches, charities to explore information when it comes to connect with a digital generation. Because if we do not connect digitally with those places and spaces, we are going to lose out on the opportunities of what it means to share and explore something in a meaningful way, because they're already engaging with that in the digital world through gameplay and through entertainment. So there's a little brush stroke of understanding there about what VR and AR is and how it's been used in the technical world as businesses and charities are using it. But if you'd like to know more about what it is that we do, please follow Missional Generation or keep an eye out on our social media platforms for any more information about what we're doing, as we're developing some new exciting things for summer conferences as well as local churches and youth charities.